Hey, welcome back to the Rhetoric Warriors podcast. More rhetoricians than you've heard all day long, I promise, on this podcast. Rhetoric Warriors are people who are out there that are we're teaching people how to, I don't know, cause things with words, how to decause things, how to block other causes. Use words. They're interesting technology. I'm Dr. Dan, rhetoric, PhD, comedy writer, rhetorician, comedian. I started Rhetoric Warriors because I got tired of teaching 18-year-olds who didn't want to hear about rhetoric. Now I'm teaching adults who don't want to hear about rhetoric, but should. It's useful stuff. I talk to comedians on the podcast. I convert conservatives. I do what I call slow conversions on the podcast, and I bring on persuasion professionals. I also bring on rhetoricians. And today we got a new feature. I like little channel features. You can go find these on playlist on my YouTube. This is called Persuade Me, or maybe it's going to be called Persuading Dan. I'm not sure, but I end up being the expert on all these things, and that doesn't seem fair all the time. It seems like other people should be able to show their wares, show their skills. So I'm going to let people persuade me, and I'm going to work on the other side of this. I'm not going to be contentious. I'm not here to just be a contrarian. I'm open to persuasion, but I will also put them through their paces a little bit so we can learn what it's all about. And we're going to launch with a favorite person of mine. He was episode number 4 on Rhetoric Warriors podcast. That was 68 episodes ago, bro.
You keep pumping them out. I've seen it. Yeah.
You're in the early stages. His look has evolved, as I was telling him. His beard has shrunk. His hair has grown. But always cool, always fun. And today, Kirk Miller is going to convince me and others that it's worthwhile to move to Kentucky. I used to live in Kentucky. He's going to try to convince me to move back. He's now the spokesperson for the state of Kentucky. Right, Kirk?
I should be supposed to. And by the way, Dan, it's great to be back with you in this format like this, where, you're down in Austin, and I'm up here.
Yes, you are.
And all I have to do is look at your head. I don't have to see that, body you've curated with nothing but nuts and eggs. And what else do you eat? Wait, Bart?
Just hopes and dreams. Delusion.
Yule Gibbons. You're Yule Gibbons of the 2020s.
Fool Gibbons. Nobody knows who Yule Gibbons is anymore. Like the 70s? Was that 70s?
Yeah, 70s. He was, he hawked grape nuts,
which is a weird name.
Like he was on grape nuts commercials.
Grapes with nuts. These are the nuts of grapes.
It's wheat, is what it is. I mean, I think so.
It is. Why do they call them grape? They don't taste like grapes.
Marketing, man, marketing. It was back before a lot of the rules came in about truth.
Well, tell me, for the people. For the people who don't know Kirk Miller, just tell them a little bit your Kentucky background. Like, what's your?
Well, here I am. I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's very interesting because I was adding it up the other day. What is today? This is about. You know what? We are sitting right on top of the anniversary day of me having lived in Louisville as long as I have lived anywhere else in my life, because I was born here in 1957. We moved away 2 weeks after that. And then we came back in 1989. I came back in 1989, and I've been here ever since. So most of that first 32-year period was spent in Kentucky, but some of it was spent in Georgia. That's it, Georgia. Well, New Orleans. We were down there for.
So is that your first? Is that your first offer? Like your first positive of Kentucky? That if you move here, you'll teach people how to say Louisville?
Oh, that's here I've grown to. I have a different attitude about that now. I used to get pissed when people wouldn't say it right. It's just Louisville. Is how we say it. And then someone would say Louisville or Louisville, and I'm like, no, it's Louisville. And so I don't give a shit. Say it however you want to say it. I know what you're talking about. There's no other. Is there another Louisville that is freaking matters in the country? Okay, so I don't care. Say that. It's just like people would get still today. People, how do you say it? Appalachia or Appalachia?
Yeah, I always said Appalachia, But
that's the way it's supposed to be said. That's the way it's supposed to be said, according to the Appalachians. And so you remember by Apalachicola or whatever, however you're going to do it. Now, see, I don't give a shit. Say it however you want to say. I know there's only one of those in the country.
so,
Correct?
but that is one of the first things. Like Kentucky or Louisville is basically famous for actually being Louisville. Like that's one of the ways it markets itself.
Yes, I have the T-shirt back in my closet. It has different pronunciations of Louisville, Louisville, and all these stupid little things. And I would wear it through airports after I got it. People, oh, that's so funny. And then I realized that's just, ridiculous. There's more important things. All
right. So you've been in Louisville for a long time and you were in Richmond?
Richmond, Kentucky for a long time. Yeah. So I've really been in every, how about if we can talk about some things as I ask you some questions. When you lived here, how much of Kentucky did you see? Did you get into the mountains much? Paintsville, Pikeville, Prestonsburg, those kind of areas up in the top of the mountains, as far eastern as you could get? Did you spend?
Well, I lived there from 0 to 17. So
I understand.
Louisville,
right.
South end of Louisville, which is not the good end of Louisville.
Right. Right.
It wasn't the poverty end, but it was definitely the working class and on the edges of redneck Fairdale and Valley Village and stuff like that. So it wasn't quite over into rural, but we had, when we moved into our house when I was 10, we moved and there were chicken coops and outhouses on the property that we had to deal with, clean up. So I was on the edge.
There's chicken coops. There's chicken coops up here behind $600,000 houses.
Yeah, but this was not a $600,000 house chicken coop.
I understand. Right.
Okay. And so I traveled Kentucky a lot because I did comedy in Kentucky for quite a while, for a few years.
Okay. So there's
but
some
the mountains, like the actual, like in the hollers. Nope, not very much.
Okay. All right. Have you
drove through them?
Drove through them. Okay, but you haven't been on the ground, met people, and spent time in their houses and all that kind of stuff. Okay,
no, sir.
And how about Western Kentucky? You've been down to Lake Barkley and Cumberland Lake. Well, I mean the land between the lakes. You've been down there to that area?
I have. My grandfather was from Indiana, New Albany, and he took me fishing down there a few times. And I've been I've been to Cumberland, Barkley, Barron.
Okay.
All that area. And my family's originally from Henderson. So they were tobacco growers in Henderson until my grandfather moved us into Louisville.
Yeah.
But I never went back there. I don't know any of that side of my family at all.
Yeah. The rural people down there. Well, yeah, those tobacco growers, they were good people back in the 60s. I remember they'd come to the rural church that my dad preached at, and that's when people discovered that tobacco was bad for you. The debate was going on. There's still, of course, there wasn't a tobacco farmer that thought it was bad. And then they started going, well, we just grow it for medicinal purposes. That's what they would say in church. Somehow there was some medicine they were making from this burley,
I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so, well, I was asking that just to, see how much of the state you've been in, because I've been in every freaking little corner of this place. And I was lucky enough to have a job with a real estate company that I was just in a car on the ground for about 2.5 years, just driving almost every county of the country of the state, because we had all these Century 21 real estate offices dotted all around. That was back in the heyday in the 90s, and they were everywhere. But that allowed me to expand my little reach of knowing Kentucky even more. But I grew up I spent 18 years in Richmond, Kentucky, which is right on the edge of the mountains,
right?
Of Appalachia. It's up on the really right on the edge of the bluegrass plateau. Because when you hear about the bluegrass, Kentucky bluegrass, that's not the whole state. That's just an area that really doesn't even reach Louisville. I mean, technically Louisville's not in the bluegrass, Yeah,
Lexington is about the reach, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. That's about where it kind of stops, where it hits the river there. So that's where I grew up. So I spent tons of time in the mountains. I knew a lot of mountain people that would come. We had my father that taught at EKU. We just had tons of students that would come out of the mountains that would be like the first in their generation to go to college, And so that was an interesting cultural experience to have, to go back in the hollers and see all those folks. And
So is that your first like real pitch? Like Kentucky's mountains and that mountain culture is something different than everywhere else, right?
well, I could tie it to something. I was also thinking we also have to look at reasons for you to leave Texas.
Now we'll get to Texas later. Like
there's a lot of reasons to leave Texas, and I
can
add to this, just like people think they're illiterate in the mountains in Kentucky. Well, you still have a law in Texas that outlaws the owning of a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas. Look it up, and it's because it's got a recipe for beer in it, and they don't want you to have that. It's true. So just look it up. So there's a
completely anything you want to say bad about Texas, I'll believe it.
Yeah. Well, that'd be easy. Anyway, and a lot of the similar things are here too. So now, so are you an outdoor? Here I was thinking about this. You're not as much an outdoorsman as you are, a gym person.
Yeah, I'm not an outdoor guy at all.
You're not at all.
I could care less.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so I can't. That makes it a little tough. So that puts you in just a couple of areas.
So like one of your big pitches then is the naturalness of Kentucky. Like,
well, if you're into it, or you can experience it from an urban setting like I do most days.
Yeah, you don't go natural. You're not out there.
Well, I do a lot. I mean, I did before I got sick. No, I go camping before I got sick. I would a lot, but I haven't since then. But I have a kayak.
Where have you been camping that you would recommend in Kentucky?
God, Red River Gorge. There was a couple of summers when I was a boy. I spent more nights in Red River Gorge camping than I did back in my house. I mean, we were just there. Now it's just gorgeous. We have a wonderful state park system. Look it up. I mean, you got Mammoth Cave, which everybody's heard of, which actually is the first federal park east of the Mississippi, I think. Isn't that the case? And the Mammoth Cave is an amazing. Have you ever been down to Mammoth Cave, Dan?
Oh, many times.
Yeah.
My school went there, I think, every year. And the last time I went, I heckled the park ranger during his rant about pollution and everything. He asked, so there are these blind fish down here. What do you think they eat? And I'm like, park rangers?
Yeah.
He was not used to being heckled.
13? You were 13? Is that what you're?
No. This was, I think I went as an adult after I was a comic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I took my son's scout troop. We went down there and went on a freaking 6-hour hike.
That's the thing about a cave, man. Once you're in a cave, you're in a cave.
You're in a cave, and that was the biggest one there is. And what's so weird is that would have been back in the 90s, early 2000s, and they've discovered miles and miles more of that cave since then. They just keep finding it. Keeps going up in Indiana. So anyway, outdoor stuff is wonderful here. But but you're right. The last a couple of years for me has been an urban environment. I'm lucky to live here in Louisville, which obviously I think is one of the best places. It's like well, not any state. A lot of states don't have any place worth a shit to live in at all. I've visited all those, but Kentucky's got depends on what your mood is. Louisville's just got a really cool vibe. It's just kind of where I want to be. It's just got music.
Explain that to people like who haven't been to Louisville, because Louisville is the east end, the west end, and the south end.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, yeah. I think it's divided this way. I think you have, of course, you've got the west end. That's right, 9th Street and over, which is where we keep all our murders, and then you have downtown and up here where I live, which is the Highlands, out to the Watterson, which is like downtown in the early suburbs, which I'm in an early suburb out here. And then you have the developed East End where all the rich white people live. So really you divide that, and then you have the South. So it's four. To me, it's four.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it's four distinct things going on, because you go out in the East End now and you talk to people. Even I go to the real estate offices out there and you talk about the Highlands. They go, well, that's where all the Black Lives Matters protests were, and Mitch McConnell, Turtle Crossing is literally less than a half mile from that way from where I'm standing right now. Mitch McConnell lives.
Is that where he lives?
Yeah, that's what we call it, Turtle Crossing. There's
okay.
Somebody always people put signs up there all the time, Turtle Crossing. Yeah, Yeah, it's just literally less than a half mile over the hill from where I.
But you're in an enclave of Louisville. You're not representative of Louisville where you're
I'm
living.
representative of this community. Of this,
Oh, you
this
are.
area.
Yeah, I give you
Well,
that. The Highlands.
of this whole section I described, downtown and up through, this section of the town. But, and then south is, like you said, white, but more conservative, more, Trump supporters are going to be in the south.
It's more redneck.
Southeast are where the Trump supporters are. And
right. That's where I grew up.
And people working for social justice are the ones where all the protests are. So, it's easy to identify, and easy. Yeah. Now, no, but Louisville is a very unique town. There's a quote, Jim James. I don't know if people know My Morning Jacket group from here, which has had some fame. And I can't get his quote exactly. I shouldn't even brought it up because I'm going to remember the quote. But he talks about how the vibe of New York, of Louisville is not the South exactly, but it's got some of that Southern vibe to it. But it's just got a weird eclectic thing going on in our music. Back then, it used to be primarily the music and theater scene,
right?
But now it's expanded to music. I mean, to food and all kinds of other stuff. And so, whatever you want, the culture is surprising. We have people every year come here for the Derby, or we used to when the Derby was big. It's kind of fading. I think it may. I don't know. We'll see what the future is, but you have people from California and New York come down here for the Derby, and they go, "Holy cow!" and they stay for a week, and they wind up moving down here. It happens with pretty good frequency because they didn't realize there's culture anywhere outside of New York.
Yeah, but that's again unrepresentative of Louisville. Like it's cool 1 week a year during the Derby.
Well, no, okay. The rest of the year, however, right? But you've got Actors Theater sitting down there, which sends more off-Broadway scripts and developed plays to Broadway than any other off-Broadway, community theater place. We have, our ballet is spectacular. Our theater, sports is off the chain and growing right now. Soccer, I don't know if you're aware, is getting pretty big in the country right now. It's one of the fastest growing.
Is that the game they play with their feet?
Yeah, they fall down. Yeah, it's great.
How do you turn something into a game just by restricting what body part you can use?
It makes for some really funny looking contortions, and the freeze frames of when the ball's hitting them in the face and all that. It's wonderful. I love it.
My favorite part of soccer is going, oh my God, look, he's hurt. Oh no, he's not. Nobody ever gets hurt in soccer.
No, they don't get hurt. They just fall. Yeah, they fall. And then I liked when excuse me, back there a long time ago. Remember when it'd always be a streaker. Somebody goes, of course, when streaking was kind of a thing. I remember Europeans are going, well, yeah, we've been doing that for years, because they something that would run across, streets. No, I've gotten into soccer lately because we have a very successful second level league, soccer.
You want to hear a funny streaker story before we move on?
Sure, absolutely. I got all kinds of streaker stories.
Streaker story plus Kentucky Derby story. They come together. So my grandparents lived right across from the grandstand, like the entrance to the grandstand. My grandparents, their house was the last house before you got into the actual Churchill Downs.
I know that neighborhood. There's nothing wrong with that neighborhood. I got friends live down there right now.
It's a cool little neighborhood. I always liked that neighborhood. Yeah. But during the 70s, it was during the streaker era, and a guy pounded on our front door, and my grandfather opened the door, and it was a naked dude. And he's like, I'm a streaker, man. I'm going to streak through your house. And my grandfather's, not here, you ain't. Just shut the door in his face.
It's the door. Yeah. Well, I bet he told stories about that for a few years after that, or maybe he didn't.
Now, I lived on Southern Parkway for a couple of years, right close to the Downs and
it's beautiful.
Stadium.
That's a beautiful street. Yeah. That's a beautiful road there. It wasn't the part where it's got the double lane on the side. I mean, it's gorgeous and tree lined and all that. You're in that, extension of Old Louisville, really, is how I think about it, because that's, was the southern suburb that grew out of when I say Old Louisville, that's, I forget what the ranking is, but it's like one of the second or third largest collection of existing of Victorian homes that are still existing.
Yeah, it's cool. I'll give you. You've scored a point on architecture with Kentucky, and you
and they have
on the Highlands, which is essentially the Austin of Louisville.
It kind of is. Yes, it is. It's a weird. Think about the vortex. It's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle a little bit. You've got Mitch right over here. You've got Hunter S. Thompson's childhood home is in this neighborhood, just about 2 miles over, and then Muhammad Ali is buried about the same distance down here with Colonel Sanders and all those other Kentuckians. And yeah, and it's I step out my door and there's you can sit down for a 200 plate a person dinner restaurant down the street, or grab a dollar PBR in a bar 2 doors up from it. We have Rolls Royce bringing people down for dinner, and of course they're driving past some homeless people, perhaps, standing around, that kind of stuff.
Well, so I definitely, okay. So you win on the Highlands. That's a selling point.
Okay.
Now let's get back to some of the things that would concern me. I need a little more persuasion on.
Okay. Well, Louisville is fun. Louisville is funny, by the way. This is another part of the culture that we need to, that may be a definite attraction to you.
The comedy scene.
The comedy scene, correct. And as I understand, you attempt to be in that at different times. And so
I can't seem to get out every time I try to.
We might could find your break here. No, it has not abated. I'll say that. It has not abated. It has, I was just looking at Jacob Williams, who's a boy from here. And, he's on Wild and Out. You ever watch that show? He's been on for damn 8 seasons. He's filming he was just been on Facebook. He's filming a new season, now. So he's a little, these are spinoffs since I've been goofing
Wild
around.
and Out. Is that a gay show?
It's a rap battle or a show. It's
okay.
a rap battle, just a kind of, I see how cool I am. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of rap music lately, Dan. Do you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, mainly at intersections, but I hear it.
Good one. I'm
here at Catskills all week. Come on, hey.
All right, anyway, so the comedy scene.
The comedy scene. You could pick off. There's about 30 new guys and women that are trying to get into comedy every month, coming out of all these neighborhoods you're talking about, and even further. And Dan, they need help.
They do.
You're the one that can help them. Dan, you could help them. Yeah, I tell you, you could help them.
I'm out of that business now. I'm not in the helping comedians business anymore.
Okay, well then, all right, lost on that one. All right, let's see
but
this.
You didn't lose on that. It does have a vibrant scene.
Okay. Yes, the comedy scene. Yeah, and there's more that I think could be done. I mean, there's a lot of, there's some video work that some people are starting to do, and there's some production. I keep seeing news anchors here that live here, like on MSNBC and some of these, the lower level, consultants they'll get on, talking about some political issue to come on, and they'll have a pic. So they're around here somewhere. So if you're interested in politics, that might help. But no, the
celebrities
there are more. There's a new good comedy room just opened up. I mean, I don't know. Let me talk about the rooms for just a minute. Of course, the Comedy Caravan, which it was started. The thing is actually an influential room in the whole comedy scene going back to the 70s. 78, I think, is when the germination of the first iteration of Comedy Caravan opened in the
wasn't it called something else? Like,
yes, it was. I mean, it was a lady's name. I forget what it was.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
In St. Matthew's Mall, also is where it was. And then I think then what's his name took it over.
Yeah, Sobel became the Funny Farm.
Tom Sobel took it over, and he's the one that really nurtured it and flowered it, and actually had all Roseanne coming through there, and a lot of big old comics have all come through there, and it was one of those comedy clubs that just went nuts in success during that heyday of those years of the 80s, I guess, in the early 90s. And
yeah, I was
so,
there in 87. So I
yeah,
started there in 87.
okay. And so that was when there was lines out the door on Wednesdays for open mics, that kind of stuff. And so, but anyway, so that's still there, and thank goodness, and has been open continuously, even through different owners. That's all I'll say. And the one currently now is doing a great job. So anyway, that's a wonderful stable room, fully open now. Shows are just going, everything's going good. And we got the Bardstown, which is just right down 2 blocks from me, which does regular comedy shows as well. Now we have the Planet of the Tapes, which is a new wonderful venue that's opened up that does that's just doing regular comedy shows. I'm gonna be down there Monday night, and then there's
Why is it called Planet of the Tapes?
It's a great place. You can actually go rent DVDs and stuff.
Oh, okay, so they have a room attached to their
yes, and they also they do movie bingo, and they watch movies together, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so you've got that, and you've got different people promoting comedy shows all over town all the time. So anyway, good Lord, hadn't slowed down. So you got that.
So there's some energy. I got that, but is there any talent?
Yes, there is,
like real talent.
Well, but what I was saying, the real talent leaves, of course, and that's what I was talking about. We have Ronan Hirschberg has left and is doing well.
No, I said talent.
I know you said talent. That's what I'm talking about.
Anyway, Ronan's he's an interesting guy. He annoys
Ronan is doing well. Ronan is doing well. I catch up with him, and I keep watching his shows on Facebook and stuff. And the boy writes all the time. He's doing funny. He makes me laugh.
He wants it. He power to him. I just like his delivery doesn't. I'm like, I can't.
He does it for you. I understand. It's you know what? That's something else. We can talk comedy shop, I guess, another time. But I was thinking.
Yeah, let's talk it some other time. So keep hitting it up. Like, okay, so
Kentucky. Well,
all moves.
The literacy level is high here in Louisville. My daughter's working on her PhD in astrophysics right now at U of L. Now I know you're crossing the line with educational institutions and having any employment situation with them now, and that's fine. I
taught at the University of Louisville for 3 years.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've never had a relationship either. Not that I ever could, but I'm just saying, I've never been invited to be a professor, is all I'm saying. But
hard to believe. You would make a great professor.
I know I would. There's no doubt about it. But you have to have like.
All right, I'm going to keep you moving here. So we got comedy. Now you mentioned literacy. What about the downsides? Like, knock out some of my downsides here. Like the people are not. They're not intellectually motivated. And
it's no different than where you live. It's no different than. It's no different than. Name any place in this country, because I've been to most of them, and you have a mix of people with varying levels of interest in learning new things. That's the best way I can put it, and it's the most pure way I can put it, without judgment and all that. Do they exclude different things in different places? Yes, that's true. And if you want to talk about that, what are the scotomas to reality in Kentucky? Well, I'm not.
Well, you go to New York, you at least have a literary, tradition and ilk. You've got an intellectual ilk. Yes, where's that in Louisville or Kentucky?
Well, it's all over.
It's little pieces of it here and there. It's not like a big strand of it.
You can walk around and find literate people. Hell, I was talking to a guy underneath the bridge downtown in a tent that I was riding my bike by. The shelters get filled up, and so they let the tent thing get carried away. And anyway, so I was unloading a sofa. I was helping him unload a sofa for this guy in front of his tent, and he was a stockbroker. So there's literate people underneath interstates. It's where you're looking for them, Dan.
What you're saying is, if I go hang out under the viaducts,
you'll probably find smarter people. All right, where are they in Austin? Well, okay,
we're not comparing to Austin. I'm just like, I'm thinking I'm just letting you knock out some of my negatives, and like, I'm not
so
to them. It's just I
smart.
grew up in the South End. There was no tradition of intellectualism or reading.
I'm going to help you here. Here's where some intellectualism stems from in Louisville is our food scene. And there is an interesting, and this might be a connection for you because there is a ton of interest in healthy and farm raised and local sourced and healthy eating and the culinary spirit. Of course, we're not talking about just, thinking about a grilled cheese sandwich all day. We're thinking about, an elevated, it's
so there's a culinary scene and there's a
lot of people
sustainable food scene.
Yes, it's a lot of people thinking about food a lot and cooking a lot of it and thinking about describing it and connecting it to their life and all that kind of stuff.
So they like the supper clubs where people get together and share, bring stuff.
Any variation you would want, you will find here. Absolutely. And it's so funny too, because there's so many imports, like, there'll be a guy that, be from Puerto Rico, a native, and he opens up a restaurant, and it's here for, 30 years, that kind of stuff. And so, but you have all these different, non-native chefs that have come here attracted by the music scene. I read a stat once where by the food scene. I keep saying the music scene, by the food scene. Okay. I read once where we eat more meals out per capita than any other city in the country. And in both categories, both fine dining and fast food, which if that was true, it's the divide in the economy is what it is. It just,
let's hit this one. Another, seething, open, gaping wound of Kentucky, the politics.
Well, yeah, we had that little fart from Northern Kentucky. It was our one Kentucky representative that did not vote to recognize the policeman at the Capitol.
Right.
Up there.
Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell.
Massey. His name is Massey.
Batman Robin duo ever.
Well, even Rand Paul and Mitch voted for that, but this Massey did not. This guy, was his name, Massey. Little prick. Jesus Christ.
So you got some political problems. Like
we have a great here's the salvation. It's a weird thing in Kentucky. We elect Democratic governors on a regular basis.
Yeah, right.
Like we have one now, and it really is our kind of protection against the different choices a lot of our rural people make about what they ignore.
Well, is that what it is? It's the rural population sending the Mitches back in there. Is there something about the Republican Party machinery rigging it all in Kentucky?
It's Louisville and the rest of the state. That's how it votes. It's now Lexington is going a little bit blue, but it's the state is firmly Republican. We got 5 million people here, I guess 5.5 million. And so, that's what it is. But it's like, listen, that's like any other state too. It's diversified a little more as Lexington grows, as Bowling Green grows, as Paducah grows, and there's more people means more diversity, means more Democrats, because they're see that people aren't so bad. They're away from their farm, and
you've been there all the way through that stuff, because I've documented some of this with you watching the Tea Party sort of move through Kentucky and that kind of movement and the extremism, which takes roots much more easily in the rural areas, because there's not a bunch of intellectual defense going on. It's like Dan,
it's not about intellectual, it's about exposure. It's 100% about exposure. It's just like now we're getting into politics, but I can't help it. Can you blame these people that believe the election was stolen if the only people that they trust have been telling them that for years? It's as simple as that.
Yeah, sure.
The hitch and the giddy up on that is if Biden lost in 2 years and he did the same thing, I would not believe Biden. But anyway, that's another dividing line. So
all right, so we got the political, we got some political
politics,
but you also have good deviants in Kentucky, right? You have You have good pot, good liquor.
Oh, hell, we're viced up, baby. Everybody agrees on that. That's like, oh yeah, you gotta. Bourbon is everywhere. We have, our mayor here, in politics. He's Democrat. He's done. We'll see. He had to navigate us through this, Black Lives Matter stuff. He kind of did halfway. Anyway, it's that whole relationship with the police and the mayor.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to be in the middle of that when I'm the mayor.
No. Bourbonism is what he likes to talk about it. Yeah, no, there's distilleries all over the place that started exploding again about 10 years ago. The prohibition set us back a little while, and it took a while to get things back.
It's like 100 years ago, dude.
Well, it was a while ago, but we're crawling back now. Now liquor, it's an interesting history of liquor. It goes through different phases, and white liquor will be in for a while, and that kind of destroyed the old brown liquor business. There's all kinds of history and politics, but still, that creates an intellectual culture as well. Because if you want to, there's not many places you go into museums and you can see history of bourbon making and all that kind of stuff. So that's a fun thing. It's also providing my son quite a good employment, in his life. But so that's fun. So no sport. You never go outside and work out. You just go into the gym and work out.
Yeah, people will be like, "You want to hike?" And I'm like, "You mean I want to go outside and be less comfortable?"
Yeah, that's it. Well, first of all, Dan, I'll just tell you that's stupid. But anyway, I understand what you're saying. But the worst experience in my life ever was at a Hyatt Regency I used to have to stay at up in Morristown, New Jersey. And the only way I could work out was if I went down to their workout room that had those exercise bikes that had the seat the size of a large tractor seat, with padding on it. And the only way to adjust it was just, with the big cluck, 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 and you'd get that, and it weighed about 180 pounds, that seat to lift it up. And then you get on it, and the TV was on there, and the graphics were just horrible. I'd rather be outside. The graphics are perfect outside every time.
Good point. I'll give you that one. Another point.
Yeah,
it's high def. It's the original high def.
And you don't have to wear those stupid pedals that are like pool shoes, that you stick your feet. It's bad, Dan. Get outside. But anyway, there are gyms galore all over this freaking place. There's all kinds of people with your same attitude. Let's go to the Planet Fitness. And you don't go Planet Fitness.
No, I gotta go to a decent gym.
You mean like one with free weights and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, one that has like if I'm gonna go to the gym every day, like it's gotta have a steam room, it's gotta have
okay. Yeah, they got those here. Yeah, you got a YMCA down here. It's got all that. We got a luxury YMCA down here.
Yeah. I used to work out at that YMCA.
Maybe a new one since you work there.
Maybe. I got kicked out of the Hirschborn one once. My brother had a membership. My membership had expired, so I kind of snuck in there on an old ID. And about 20 minutes in, this woman, like East Ender, just an East Ender, just a rich East Ender, couldn't just let it go. Yeah. She came back and she's like, "I checked on your ID. I called that gym in California, and you are no longer a member." And I'm like, "Well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna let me work out or not?" It was Christmas. I'm like, "It's Christmas. What do you say? Let me do another 30 minutes and get out of here." And she's like, "No, you have to leave right now."
You got me.
You got me there, Barney Fife.
Rules around here. You gotta stand for something, Dan.
I don't like the class distinctions in Louisville.
I don't like them anywhere.
They're strong.
I don't like them anywhere.
They're strong in Louisville. There's a lot of class divide.
They are strong. There's a strong class divide in Louisville, and it bothers me very much. Yes, I don't like it either. There's
also a strong racial divide.
Both of those things, but I have put my hands into the latter more than any in the last year than I have since I was a teenager back in the first. Well, not the first. It's so funny. You talk about the history of racial tensions in your own life, and you think back and you go, "Well, I was there during the first one." And you go, "No, wait, shit, that wasn't the first. The first one was the boat that came over here in 1400.
Oh, yeah,
that's the first one." But anyway, So yeah, so
I'm not going to
yeah.
super hold that against Kentucky, Louisville, because that's
However,
everywhere.
however, I was proud of our city last year in a big way, and my temple, so to speak, was after I had gotten over chemo and I was feeling good enough to ride my bicycle, and I would ride downtown, and that was during the Breonna Taylor, the height of the protests there, when people were camping out all downtown, all the stuff, and it was wonderful. And I would come home and I would see it on TV. I would see my street on TV, and of course there was some dust ups, but I'm telling you, I was there during a couple of them, and it was the story that was being told that it was people from out of town that came in and did it, and it was the police over policing. So it was just as simple as that. I got to see over policing live, which I had been just on TV, but I saw it, downtown, and so I was very proud of Louisville. And we obviously have a national history since the 40s and 50s, since mass media, since TV, of having racial tensions have gone on. We were one of the first buses, us in Boston.
Yeah, I was in there. I was a Catholic school kid, so I didn't get bused, but I was watching all that on TV. I remember the cop who got the fishing lure or whatever in his eyeball. Do you remember that? He lost his eye because somebody hit him with a fishing lure. I'm like, that is so Kentucky.
Yeah.
But he came and talked to our school,
yeah. And so we have, and I've done a lot of reading about the history of our city, because I just love
it. That's something else. There is a big history in Kentucky and in Louisville that you can really dip into. There's a lot of culture there. There's a lot of past.
Oh, there is. And what I love to do is get on my bicycle and ride around town after I've read about it and be where it happened, and like I'll go out, and speaking of racial history, there's an intersection of 28th and Greenwood out on the West End. And in 68, there was a driving while black incident where the cop pulled a person over for being black. He was actually a dentist or some shit. And 28th and Greenwood out in the West End was a vibrant black community intersection with businesses, nightclubs, restaurants, all, think of Greenwood in, the one that burned, anyway. So they had riots and burned the place down over the next couple of days. There's a whole story about it. I've read, gone to the Courier Journal files and all that stuff. And I ride my bike over there today. It's still empty.
Yeah, my grandparents, like I said, lived in New Albany, and we lived in the South End. So a lot of times when they drove us back after we'd visit over there, after I'd stay with them for a couple of weeks or whatever, we'd come to the West End. And my grandparents were 5th and 6th grade education, backwoods Indiana, so I got to hear their views on, all the black culture around them. But I always remember looking at it going, this feels like a different world. I mean, this looks interesting. Like
it's very interesting. And I'm going to talk about, there's some good things that are happening too. But what I was going to tell you is at that intersection I was talking about, where Muhammad Ali's childhood home on Grand is about 2 blocks from there. It's just right up around. So you can just ride on up and you can see where he's from. And then there's all this history out, further out to the West End, Shawnee Park and all of that. So it's
you ever thought about founding like Kirk tours?
Well,
because you have steeped yourself in this city.
I had thought about that with bicycle tours. People do it now. There's some people that do it now.
Yeah, but they're not going to do it like you do it.
No, I'd love to. Oh, it'd be funny as hell. I'd love to do that. Absolutely, it'd be a good business. That'd be a good.
Put a little microphone hanging around your neck.
The technology is there, and I got the desire and the legs and the knowledge. By golly, we just do it. Anyway,
I give you this, man. I think about you in these terms a lot. Like you have lived your city, like nobody does.
Oh, I love it. I am Louisville. It's just inside of me, and I've been in all the states but 2. I got to travel everywhere. I could have moved forever ago. The way my job was, all I had to do was be near an airport. So I could have lived, about anywhere. But, it's a choice to stay here for me. And how about all 3 of my adult children have decided to stay here, and they're building their careers right in this neighborhood?
Yeah, and I think if maybe I'd have grown up in the Highlands, I had a different would have had a different experience of Kentucky because basically the South End, there's nothing interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just fights with rednecks. Essentially, was my entire childhood.
Yeah.
And then I played sports a lot because there was nothing else, and there was nobody was doing theater out there.
Man, they do a comedy. They do a comedy room down on South End now. They do them on Dixie Highway sometimes. I mean, things change a little bit.
And I'm not saying like I'm clearly importing a lot from my childhood. I could hear Fort Knox. I could hear them practicing the guns from where we lived.
Well, that's still a problem here. I mean, we're horrible gun violence, but most.
No, I mean like Fort Knox, like the armament. I could hear it from my house.
Yeah, well, Fort Knox is kind of docile now.
How do you get by with still having a Dixie Highway? That's a good question.
That's true. Yeah, we took down a few little statues around here. One here near me of a Confederate.
I'll give you another. We got about 15 minutes left here, so I'll give you another benefit. Like, what do you think about like the women in Kentucky? Like,
they're beautiful, most beautiful women in the world. I'm telling you. Well, I mean, I married one for a while, and no, listen. I could. This is another episode.
I'm just letting you sell to me. Come on.
Listen, this is another episode. I could tell you. We just go through all the women I've fallen in love with from Kentucky. There's not many outside of Kentucky that I have fallen in love with. Maybe a few, but most of them be in Kentucky. You want to see the most. You want to feel the most beautiful feeling is to sit beside a beautiful mountain lady with red hair and pale skin that's smart, and move back home. There's a perfect woman right there. Or how about somebody who's a woman who's dedicated herself to being a playwright, lives here in Louisville, and is getting stuff going, and she's hot. In your mind, all these ladies are hot. Okay, so
what do you think makes the Kentucky women more attractive? Because they're not fully Southern, they're not Midwestern. Like it's a
it depends. Well, there's all kinds of women in Kentucky. I used to have trouble starting conversations with women, but my trans friends have helped me out with that. You know how? I just wait till they turn into a man. Then we got all kinds of shit to talk about. We're talking about fishing, and sports and all. What makes a Kentucky woman? Listen, that's the individual thing. Women to me are attractive. It's their intellect as much as what they look like. Okay, but do I have an idea of what's beautiful? Yes. Can I describe what is Kentucky beautiful to you? I'm not sure if I can put that into words.
It's like everybody gets the kind of the Derby vision of that, like women in big hats.
That's not it. The Derby vision's not it. No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about the somebody who would never put on a Derby finery and go to the Derby is who I was thinking about first, but there's plenty of women, persons who associate as women who wear Derby hats, and dresses and go. So that's
I can feel that that you authentically love the Kentucky woman. So, and there's songs about Kentucky women. Right?
Oh, Kentucky woman is one. So that's pretty close to. If you did
even that line from that John Cougar Mellencamp song where he's like telling about some girl about Kentucky, and he's like, "Oh, there ain't no girl like that."
See there, that's right. Well, if you actually did a Google search of what's the song about Kentucky woman, and it would come up Kentucky woman. So that's good. You were
Neil Diamond.
Neil Diamond. That's right. No, music.
Which is kind of weird. What kind of music? Neil Diamond from New York? Is he a New York? Is he a New York Jew? Like singing about Kentucky woman?
Of course, because Kentucky's cool. Kentucky's got a great
man. When you've got a voice, you can sing. I swear to God, across every ethnicity, your voice just works.
You're you don't like bluegrass music, and I'm sorry about that.
I do like bluegrass music. That is not true. I've been a fan of bluegrass for a long time.
I'm sorry. I thought you didn't like. Well, hell, son, get home.
I used to go to the Bluegrass Festival in Louisville all the time.
Let me tell you what. there's more good. Well, again, a reason to live, in Kentucky. And now I'm stretching it out to just about anywhere in Kentucky you want to live. Lexington, Louisville, the mountains, anywhere you're going to find the best bluegrass music in the world, is being played here. Of course, it was invented here, of course, in Western Kentucky.
Is that because that's the only thing they could figure out how to build was a banjo?
No, actually, Bill Monroe got inspired by
the Kentucky Playboys.
Well, Uncle Penn was an actual uncle of his that played the fiddle down there. And he had the first, I think, influence of that sound rhythm to him. And then he wound up with playing after that, but mandolin after that. But yeah, so bluegrass is amazing.
Yeah,
here.
You definitely have you don't get that in the same way everywhere.
Well, you're in a pretty good. Yeah, I don't want to talk about Austin too much, but we are actually sister cities
somewhat,
in a lot of ways. So that'd make your transition easy because.
But again, it's just the Highlands. Really, you should stop saying Louisville and say the Highlands.
Well, okay. See now that's where I think it really has changed more than you can imagine. When you spend more time here, because I can actually stand to spend time out on the East End now.
Really?
Yes.
That's where my brother lives. He lives out in Prospect, and I'm just
there's some pretty good. Yeah, there's some spectacular restaurants out there. Would I live out there? No, of course not anymore.
So there's another negative I want you to answer because I know you're close to it. What about the church? What about the religiosity of Kentucky?
Well, we've got that. Okay. First of all, overall, the church is going down in the nation. I don't know if you've seen the recent numbers. It's pretty dramatic attendance at the church.
They make a comeback. They've been around for a while.
Okay, but I think it may be representing an appropriate intellectual softening going on. I don't know. We'll see what's happening. But well, you go where do you want to go to church, Dan? You can go anywhere you want to.
I don't want to see a bunch of churches where I live.
Then listen. They are all up and down my street, and I don't even notice them except for their beautiful architecture looking.
Yeah, they are. I totally give you that.
And they have beautiful events, and most of the ones in my neighborhood, of course, there's a Buddhist center across the street. From my neighborhood, there's Unitarian Church down the street. There's every denomination, and you're right. On this street, they're all, you could call them hyper liberal congregations. Probably all of them. I haven't been into their, so I mean, they're all going to be spooning the same wacky ideas, but in a more.
I prefer a ladle, just a ladle of
they're
pour that over into the gravy bowl.
Yeah, they're open, to some different.
But I mean, the conservativeness of that kind of stuff. Like I grew up Catholic in the South End. It wasn't a hyper conservative Catholicism, but like when you get into the Baptists and all that are still hanging around. Like when you do clubs, when you do your shows and stuff, are you getting some blowback from
wide open? Do whatever you want to do. No, there's none of that. No, there's. I mean, Dan, that's no different anywhere else. Also,
you keep saying That's not a good argument. That false equivalency is not a good argument.
Okay, all right, and especially when my other point about there's regional differences in comedy. But no, you don't have to be careful and not upset jokes about the Lord. Here, tell me. This bit would work here. I'm a real religious guy, and I've learned how to have a big influence on children. Is I use oil-based dye at Easter for the eggs, and then I tell them that if their faith gets strong enough, their fingers will go back to normal, and so they just sit there trembling, praying at night, looking up at me, looking down at the little stupid.
Hey, if you can't mess with kids and religion, come on. What are you doing?
I don't. And I don't think the resurrection proves the existence that Jesus. It proves that Jesus was Christ. I just think it proves that children are stupid, and it's because I get up every Easter and the eggs are in the same fucking place in the refrigerator right by the bacon, and they're out dragging these baskets around, half the time unsuccessful, trying to find. So it
seems to me, okay, so to start to tie ribbons around this, it seems to me that Louisville is okay. Like
Louisville's
it's not hardcore South. Like you don't get
it's
the exoticness of like a New
no,
Orleans.
it's better than it's better than a compromise. No, it's
It seems
Louisville
like
is
a
not.
compromise.
No, it's not. It is so much more than that. We're more like a isolated yet open to all bubble of culture.
I think
And
that's
surrounded
you.
with
I think that's you as a human being with your background and your approach to life, imprinting that and finding that and carving that out of Louisville. I don't think that's the dominant spirit of Louisville.
well, you know what I say, you know what they say, Dan, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. No, you are correct. I will give you this. I know I have some I know some people that love Louisville as much as me, that do podcasts about it, tell stories. I mean, a bunch of young people too, which is very encouraging to me. A bunch, 3 that I know of that do regular themed, podcasts about Louisville, and they're digging into the history, which means it's going to keep going. And it's a wonderful place, and the cost of living is low. You can get decent housing, and everything's a little bit cheaper, here than other major metropolitan areas. But it's got everything you need, if you want it. Not as much traffic, but horse race.
Well, I think you've done a great job.
Well,
for if somebody's never been to Louisville and they want to, like, they heard my kind of resistance, but I own up to the fact that I grew up in a shitty area of Louisville, not a particularly interesting area of Louisville. It wasn't a horrible. It was just, it was what it was.
Right.
But you have done a good job of shearing away my, my predilections towards anti-Louisville. And there's plenty there if you want to live there and be a person that's engaged. By God, go look up Kirk Miller, and he will help you engage because he's engaged.
Absolutely.
Engaged to Louisville. When you going to when you going to actually marry Louisville?
Well, I like it. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess the relationship up. It's good just the way it is. You know how it is. Dan, we would like to have you back. Come on back. No kidding. You would be an addition. You would be another reason that we could argue that Louisville's a good place to come live. Seriously, Dan, because you would be a contribution to the comedy community and to the theater and the obviously one of the greatest part of Louisville to me is the creative community. I mean, that's what I spend most of my time in, with comedians and the theater and music and that kind of stuff. And so you'd fit right in, man.
Well, it's a good pitch, buddy. I appreciate it. You've done a little bit there to persuade Dan, so you've done your job today. Well rhetoricianed. Plus, you got the look. I mean, come on, a guy like that doesn't live in a conservative backwater.
I could, but I don't.
Yeah, you could. That look will actually work in a conservative backwater too, as long as you're drunk or something. You'd be fine.
Treat everybody nice. You can live anywhere. Hell, don't matter.
All right, man. Well, if you're in Louisville, go see Kirk Miller. He does shows and stuff.
I'm starting shows back up again, baby. I'm getting them booked. I don't have a lot to talk about. I did one last night. I'm doing one Monday. I think I got another one next Wednesday that I'm gonna do. I'm just trying to. I tell you what, I'm constipated with jokes. I sat at home for all this time writing all these jokes. Now I'm trying to come out and figure. That's why I'm dumping them on you. But anyway, okay.
All right, man. Well, thanks a lot for doing this. This has been the Rhetoric Warriors podcast. Keep on coming back, and we'll just keep letting people persuade me and see, where I end up.